right, beautiful people. Top of the day, Batwabu. Batwabu, yeah. Batwabu. Whew. All right, y'all. Batwabu. It is Thursday, March 26, 2020, day 107. We are reading 2 Kings 9, 10, and 11. All right, y'all. I'm actually in my place already. 2 Kings 9. All right. Okay, beautiful people. I don't really have any updates today. Things still moving along. Everybody should still be practicing social distancing. No update. Y'all see that when it come out. It'll come out. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and just start reading it because I'm already running a few minutes behind. All right, 2 Kings chapter 9. And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets and said unto him, Gird up thy loins and take this box of oil in thine hand and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat the son of Nimshi, and go in and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him into an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head, and say, Thus saith Yahuwah, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door and flee, and tarry not. So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting. And he said, I have an errand to thee, O captain. And Jehu said, Unto which of all us? And he said, To thee, O captain. And he arose and went into the house, and he poured the oil on his head, and said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, the God of Israel, I have anointed thee king over the people of Yahuwah, even over Israel. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahuwah at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut him off. And I will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel and the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled. And Jehu came forth to the servants of his Lord, and said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to thee? And he said unto them, Ye know the man and his communication. And they said, It is false. Tell us now. And he said, Thus and thus spake he to me, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then they hasted and took every man his garment, and put it under him on top of the stairs, and blew the trumpet, saying, Jehu is king. So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all of Israel, because Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him when he fought in Hazael, king of Syria. When he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Jehu said, If it be your minds, then let none go forth nor escape out of the city to go tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel from Joram. So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there. And Ahaziah, king of Judah, was come down to see Joram. And there stood a watchman on the tower of Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Joram said, Take a horseman and send to meet them, and let him say, Is it peace? So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu said, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, The messenger came to them, but he cometh not again. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu answered, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And Joram said, Make ready, and his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, Is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, What peace, so as long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? And Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, There is treachery, O Ahaziah. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Joram between his arms, and the arrow went out of his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. And then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, Take up and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember how that when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, Yahuwah laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth, and the blood of his sons, saith Yahuwah. I will requite thee in this plat, saith Yahuwah. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground according to the word of Yahuwah. But when Ahaziah, king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way to the garden house. And Jehu followed after him and said, Smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up of Gur, which is by Ibleam. And he fled to Megiddo and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in his sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired. What's supposed to say tied? But it says and tired her head and looked out a window. And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, Had Zimri peace? Who slew his master? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, Who is on my side? Who? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, Throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode her underfoot. What a way to go. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink and said, Go, see now this cursed woman and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. And they went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull and the feet and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, This is the word of Yahuwah which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel. Betwabu, Trina Betwabu. 2 Kings chapter 10. And Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria, and Jehu wrote letters and sent to Samaria unto the rulers of Jezreel, to the elders and to them that brought up Ahab's children, saying, Now as soon as this letter cometh to you, seeing your master's sons are with you, and there are with you chariots and horses, a fenced city also, and armor, look even out to the best and meetest of your master's sons, and set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house. But they were exceedingly afraid, and said, Behold, 2 kings stood not before him. How then shall we stand? And he that was over the house, and he that was over the city, the elders also, and the bringers up of the children, sent to Jehu, saying, We are thy servants, and will do all that thou bid us. We will not make any king. Do thou which is good in thine eyes. Then he wrote a letter a second time to them, saying, If ye be mine, and if ye will hearken unto my voice, take ye the heads of the men of your master's sons, and come to me in Jezreel by tomorrow this time. Now the king's sons, being 70 persons, were with the great men of the city, which brought them up. And it came to pass, when the letter came to them, that they took the king's sons and slew 70 persons, and put their heads in baskets, and sent them in to Jezreel. And there came a messenger and told him, saying, They have brought the heads of the king's sons. And he said, Lay ye them in 2 heaps at the entering in of the gate until the morning. And it came to pass in the morning that he went out and stood and said to all the people, Ye be righteous. Behold, I conspired against my master and slew him. But who slew all of these? Know now that there shall fall into the earth nothing of the word of Yahuwah which Yahuwah spake concerning the house of Ahab. for Yahuwah hath done that which he spake by his servant Elijah. So Jehu slew all that remained of the house of Ahab in Jezreel, and all his great men and his kinfolks and his priests, until he left them none remaining. And he arose and departed and came to Samaria. And as he was at the shearing house in the way, Jehu met with the brethren of Ahaziah, king of Judah, and said, Who are ye? And they answered, We are the brethren of Ahaziah. We go down to salute the children of the king and the children of the queen. And he said, Take them alive. And they took them alive and slew them at the pit of the shearing house, even 42 men, neither left he any of them. And when he was departed thence, he lighted on Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, coming to meet him. And he saluted him and said to him, Is thine heart right, as my heart is with thy heart? And Jehonadab answered, It is. If it be, give me thine hand. And he gave him thine hand, and he took him up to him into the chariot. And he said, Come with me, and see my zeal for Yahuwah. So they made him ride in his chariot. And when he came to Samaria, he slew all that remained unto Ahab in Samaria, till he had destroyed him according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake unto Elijah. And Jehu gathered all the people together, and said unto them, Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu shall serve him much. Now therefore call unto me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants and all his priests. Let none be wanting, for I have a great sacrifice to do to Baal. Whosoever shall be wanting, he shall not live. But Jehu did it in subtlety, to the intent that he might destroy the worshippers of Baal. And Jehu said, Proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal. And they proclaimed it. And Jehu sent through all of Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that came not. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was full from one end to another. And he said unto him that was over the vestry, Bring forth vestments for all the worshippers of Baal. And he brought them forth vestments. And Jehu went, and Jehonadab the son of Rechab, into the house of Baal. And he said unto the worshippers of Baal, Search and look and see that there be here with none of you the servants of Yahuwah, but the worshippers of Baal only. And when they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu appointed 80 men without, and said, If any of the men whom I have brought into your hands escape, he that letteth him go, his life shall be for the life of him. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, Go in and slay them, let none come forth. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and the guard and the captains cast them out and went into the city of the house of Baal. And they brought forth images out of the house of Baal and burnt them. And they break down the image of Baal, and break down the house of Baal, and made it a draught house unto this day. And Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. Howbeit, from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, Jehu departed not from after them, to wit, the golden calves that were in Bethel and that were in Dan. And Yahuwah said unto Jehu, Because thou hast done well in executing that which is right in mine eyes, and hast done unto the house of Ahab according to all that was in my heart, to thy children of the 4th generation shall sit on the throne of Israel. But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, with all his heart, for he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, which he made Israel to sin. I mean, after all this stuff you just did, you still it blows my mind. In those days, Yahuwah began to cut Israel short, and Hazael smote them in all the coasts of Israel, from Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites and the Reubenites and the Manassites, and from Aror, which is by the river Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria. And Jehoahaz his son reigned in his stead. And the time that Jehu reigned over Israel in Samaria was 28 years. I mean, you got such a good rapport with Yahuwah that you you still didn't part from the things that caused Israel to sin that the other previous kings did. That, like I said, that blows my mind. How you can have all this zeal and do all these things and literally clear out the country of all the images and idol worshipers and idol worshiping, yet you go back and still begin to commit some of those same sins that got the previous kings booted out of office. It blows me away. All right. Last chapter for the day, y'all. 2 Kings chapter 11. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. But Jehosheba, the daughter of the king of Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons, which were slain, and they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. And he was with her, hid in the house of Yahuwah 6 years, and Athaliah did reign over the land. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the rulers over hundreds with the captains and the guard, and they brought them to him into the house of Yahuwah and made a covenant with them and took an oath of them in the house of Yahuwah and showed them the king's son. We do this to this very day, Tiffany. You're absolutely right. It blows me away. It's like I'm gonna look at previous data and see what happened. What happened to the previous kings here? Okay. And they did what? Okay. Write that down. We want to stay away from doing this and doing this. Okay. And how were they blessed? Put that at the top of the list. Okay. Every day they read the law to the people. We're gonna do that too. Like seriously, I don't know. I guess I just always been that way. Like, if I see my sisters getting in trouble, what y'all do now? Yeah, we're going to stay away from it. No, I ain't joining you. Nope. But if I was the first one that did it, I learned the first time, you wouldn't catch me doing it again. You know, so I don't know. I don't like getting in trouble. I don't like pain. That's just, I'm going to do what's right because it's right. And the pain deters me from doing what's wrong. Yep, nope. Y'all go ahead by yourself. Yep, now I'll sit in the house. Call me square, call me whatever you want. But I'm going to live to see another day. I guarantee you that. Okay. All right. Okay. And he commanded them, saying, this is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you that enter in on the Sabbath shall be keepers of the watch of the king's house. And a third part shall be at the gate of Sir, and a third part at the gate behind the guard. So shall ye keep the watch of the house, that it be not broken down. And 2 parts of you shall go forth on the Sabbath, even they shall keep the watch of the house of Yahuwah about the king. And ye shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand, that he cometh. And he that cometh within ranges shall let him be slain. And be ye with the king as he goeth out and as he cometh in. And the captains over the hundreds did according to all the things that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And they took every man his men that will come out in on the Sabbath with them, that they should go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And the captains over hundreds did the priest king. And to the captains over hundreds did the priests give King David's spears and shields that were in the temple of Yahuwah. And the guards stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, round about the king, from the right corner of the temple to the left corner of the temple, along by the altar and the temple. And he brought forth the king's sons and put the crown upon him and gave him the testimony, and they made him king and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and said, Yah, save the king. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people in the temple of Yahuwah. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by a pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and blew with trumpets. And Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, Treason, treason! But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the host, and said unto them, Have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her, kill her with the sword. And the priest said, Let her not be slain in the house of Yahuwah. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by which the horses came unto the king's house, and there she was slain. And Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahuwah and the king and the people, that they should be Yahuwah's people, between the king also and the people. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal and brake it down. His altars and his images brake they in pieces thoroughly, and slew Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. And the priests appointed officers over the house of Yahuwah. And he took the rulers over hundreds, and the captains, and the guard, and all the people of the land, and they brought down the king from the house of Yahuwah, and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house, and he sat on the throne of the kings. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet, and they slew Athaliah with a sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. He was the youngest king. The youngest king after him was King Josiah. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. 2 Kings 9, 10, and 11. It is Thursday, March 26, 2020, date 107. If you missed the reading, you know what to do. Go ahead, back to the beginning, let it play. You can read it yourself. You can listen to me talk and read it. You can put it on the Bible app. Do whatever you want to do. But hey, if you never read it, go on and read it. It's pretty good. Skin good, y'all. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bless you and get out of here because I started so late today. May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. All right, y'all, I love y'all, and I will see you in the morning. Peace.